Brothers and sisters of the United Workers' Party, I know the defeats of 2021 and December last year were painful. Some may feel there is no coming back, but history tells us otherwise. In 1997, we suffered a crushing 16-1 loss. In 2001, we lost again by 14-3. Many people believed then
Caribbean American News Media, your Tuesday night power hour. Live every Tuesday at 8:15 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and GVV TV channel 115. Join your host, Garfield Olliver, as he dives deep into the latest inclusion developments, regional affairs, and global issues that matter to you. From politics to the economy, community stories to international headlines. We cover it all with real talk and real insights. Stay informed, get the facts, deep out of the conversation. Don't miss out. Set your reminders, share with your friends, and tune in. Caribbean American News Media, the news you report. Caribbean American News Media, your Tuesday night power hour. Live every Tuesday at 8:15 p.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and GVV TV channel 115. Join your host, Garfield Olliver, as he dives deep into the latest inclusion developments, regional affairs, and global issues that matter to you. From politics to the economy, community stories to international headlines, we cover it all with real talk and real insights. Stay informed, get the facts, be part of the conversation. Don't miss out. Set your reminders, share with your friends, and tune in. Caribbean American News Media, the news you report. Caribbean American News Media.
Welcome to Caribbean American News Media. Let's get to work. I'm here to help.
Welcome to
Well, a special good night to all our viewers here on Caribbean American News Media platform. Folks, how are you? Welcome to Caribbean American News. I'm your host, Garfield Olliver, and we'll be riding out tonight right here on the news that you report. All right. At least it is a few minutes after 8, and we're happy to be here. We have not been on the air for the past month or so, and so we are together again. So I want to wish everyone a beautiful evening as you join in. Please share the live and tag a friend. A lot of people are not expecting us on tonight, but we're here, and we're going to be having conversations, and we have a number of items that we want to look at. But we encourage you to share the live and tag a friend. If you have not subscribed to our channel, I think this is the right time to do so. We want everyone to be on the platform. I'm going to, of course, say to you that I did miss you guys, and you are in our thoughts here on the platform. I'm not sure if I have a lot of ranting to do tonight, but we're going to have a conversation as we do. This is the news you report. There's a whole lot happening around the world, and so we are happy that we are able to be here with you once again on the platform, another night where we can have a conversation. Okay, so greetings to all. Veronica, greetings to you over there on our Facebook page. Welcome to you. Hope you and the family, you guys are doing well over there. But I am here with you. All right, Spencer, greetings, and let me know where you're viewing us from, so that I can big up your country. Let us know where, or your community rather, where you viewed us from, so we can greet you soon as I do bonsoir, bonsoir, or whatever that is. All right, Christopher, good night to you. Special good night to you. Thank you for being here with us. Lydia Francis, greetings to you. My friend Duncan, greetings to you and your family. Don't listen alone. Share the live. Share the live. Tag a friend. We're monitoring the share button. Those of you over there on our YouTube channel, you are in. And so we thank you so much for being here with us. All right. Maggie Sakafet, greetings to you. Greetings, greetings. My earplug is all over the place because I did not put it in well. Hey, my friend, Naima over there in Denry South, Sakafet. Welcome. Uha locked in. She's locked in already. Christopher over there in Grand Riviere, Grosile. That's in St. Lucia. Welcome to you, Mr. Christopher. And me do the best, mate, Lawrence here. Shappy. Good night. Francis Kila, Clarence, yeah. Money, I have to speak nice to her because I don't want her to throw me under the bus. So I have to be extremely nice, because if I take her on, then I'm taking on the entire Francis family there in St. Lucia. And I don't want that type of fight. I don't want Martin coming for me. According to the people, don't come for me, huh? But greetings to all a special good night again to LUCIA, and we have Maura. She's wishing us blessings to you also, and she's from Labrie, St. Lucia. I never spent a lot of time in Labrie, St. Lucia, but it's a beautiful place. I passed through it a couple of times. But greetings to you. Nice waters there. You can see St. Vincent from some parts of St. Vincent, I believe, from that era, if I am correct. All right, so we have Bernadette Xavier, all the way locked in. Yes, I remember Bernadette. You always have a big smile, but greetings to you. And also, Petra, greetings to you. Blessed good night to you and your listeners, and you viewing us from Brooklyn, New York. We have a lot of listeners in Brooklyn. Greetings to our Brooklynites. And I don't think a lot of people are ashamed to say that they're from Brooklyn. Brooklyn is a good place. I mean, that's where everything is. You find everything. We have to leave sometimes where we live to go into Brooklyn to get stuff. And I'm in Brooklyn every Saturday. I'm in Brooklyn, and sometimes during the week when I have the time. But nothing is wrong with Brooklyn. And Lydia says she's happy. She's happy. As I do that, Lydia got him. Leave me alone, no. All right. But she's saying that she's happy. All right. So we have my friend Sylvia over there. And honestly, I feel so bad that I have to call our sister, and I've not gotten the time to do so. And even Lawrence here has given me a lot of twaka. He said, boy, you want to help everybody. You want to get involved in everything. You want to, you know, and you don't have the time. But I will find the time. So greetings to Sylvie and her entire family, her husband, her children, and everybody. I wish every one of you God's blessings tonight as we just come together to have a conversation we will have tonight. Let me just get closer to the system. But the conversation we will have here on our platform, okay? I know there are a lot of people who are saying that our platform should not be in the air and blah, blah, blah. And I don't care about all this talk, but we have big work to do. There's a lot going on in our world, in our society, in our homes, school, on the job, and we must provide guidance here on this platform. Mary, greetings to you. I know, Soufre. Mary, are you from Soufre? I think so. But greetings. Welcome. Good evening to you also. So we're going to move along. We're going to move on quickly. Thank you so much, YouTube and Facebook and all our channels. Charles, greetings to you. Blessed good night to all. So let's have a conversation, friends. Where can I start? And, you know, I always speak to you about national pride and you being proud of where you're from, but also working out your salvation, because all of us got to die. All of us got to give an account. None of us are stone. Sometimes you hear people speak as though they're kings and they're giants because they have position. You know, my doodoo, Dr. Fletcher, is in the house. You know, she's on a sabbatical, you know, and rightfully so, because a lot of work have been put in throughout the years. And sometimes you got to just rest a little while, you know, rest a little while. People made a decision. The people will have to deal with their decisions. And so we're here as patriotic Lucians, intentions to, you know, to talk about the defects and stuff that are not too kosher in the land. But human beings got to be able to work out their own salvation in fear and trembling before God. All human beings. And whether you believe or not that you have to, you have to. You understand what I'm saying? You have to. I've seen a lot, and I've prepared a lot of people for death, both seniors and otherwise. My own neighbor, I had the privilege of the last set of weeks sitting down for hours and talking, listening, and guiding. And I would say sometimes you wait until it is too late when you can't reach people to apologize or you can't reach people to make things right. And then your soul is tormented, you are restless, you're miserable. When that death toll is wrong. And so all of us got to live, friends, with that in mind, that we have to give an account, and we cannot just live vike. You can't just live anyhow. You can't just, and one of my problems is that I realize something I don't like to see is a drunken woman, a woman who is drunk or just loud and ferocious and all those things. I don't like it. It doesn't look good. And I believe women are uniquely designed, just like men too, but they're special. And I believe that women need to understand their value, who they are, and don't let no man or anyone put any value on you. No. You got to understand your value. If you wait for a man to add value to you or to place a value tag on you, friends, a price tag on you, you're messed up. You're mind everything, because he controls that price tag. He can add discount to you. He can put on discount when he wants, treat you like trash, like nothing. And so you got to understand your value and big up yourself, and deport yourself. Put your shoulders up and your head up. And I always say, man, if you can't achieve it, weave it. Nice up yourself and walk around with your head high like you're royalty, which you are. You're special. And that's why there's so much abuse. You're being abused because you allow men to put price tag on you. You allow men to do that. And as I said to you, they put you on discount. Buy one, get half free, or buy one, get one free. And you don't want that, my friends. God has already placed value in you. You're special. You're unique. Therefore, walk in that purpose in life. Especially as you age gracefully, age with pride. I like to see middle-aged, elderly, you're taking yourself, you're walking, with your head up, and if your hair dropping off, it will as you get to a certain age, or medication, put on your wig and your weave, or whatever you call it, and nice up yourself, big up yourself, man, put a little thing on, make yourself look good, walk around, and don't let nobody look at you like you're nothing. You are something. You're a child of the King. You are special, all right? So big up yourself, all you sisters out there, and please understand who you are, and don't be ferocious. You're loud. People know you in society for loving row, and you always drunk. Nah, man, nice up yourself. You're special. So I want to go into some business here. There's a lot that we miss because I was disattached, not involved, and I really enjoy that break. I was involved in a lot of stuff, that helps my spiritual and mental development, and I feel very good. Sometimes you got to take a break, rest a little while, from all the trauma. So there's something that is always happening in our world with human beings, with us. It's always easy for us to say things about people. And that's what I realized. We just say things. We call people names without any cause. Have you ever met people who don't know you and they just call you names? They just say things about you. And I think it's time for us to pull the brakes on that. And let's have a more civil society as we move forward. And I will say, folks, and I always say to you, it is your democratic right to criticize any government. Don't let nobody make you feel that you're not patriotic because you're questioning what they would say is their government or their guy or their prime minister, or that's my cousin who is in politics, so don't criticize, even though the cousin might be doing foolishness, don't say anything. Do not be afraid of the government. And that's one of the concerns that I have. Understanding Revelation and Daniel, what is to come, that there's a time where our freedoms will be taken away from us, and we'll be forced to worship. We will not have the freedom to worship the God of our choice. It will be forced on us, and all these kind of things. The freedom of movement, the freedom to purchase. We understand that those freedoms are going to be taken away. And when I see attempts, honestly, to stifle people's conscience, I get very concerned, because I know what is to come for children. And my concerns will not stop the wheels of prophecy, of course, but a lot of people don't understand what these freedoms are. A lot of people don't understand the freedom to choose a religion, the freedom to choose a political party, the freedom to choose, what you want to eat or what you don't want to eat. All human beings were blessed by that, not by humans, not by man, but you were blessed with those freedoms, these rights, by God, who created all men equal. And just like God, who sees no black, white, or pink, all of us should be seeing the same. When we see people, we should not see color. We should not see race. We should not see gender. We should see people, human beings. And I think we will have more respect when we do that. But we start classing people, the SLP are dogs, UWP are dogs, this one, the Adventists, and no, my friends. No, my friends, we got to allow people's freedom, allow people the freedom. But with the freedom comes responsibility. It comes with responsibility. Don't just live like. Understand your role in the society. And again, you do not have the right to stifle anyone from their opinion, from their expression, their freedom to express themselves, their freedom to petition the government. Folks, governments around the world have gone mad. That's a fact. You look around your world, it has lost its marble. Look at what is happening there with Israel. The United States and Iran, there are a number of memorandums of agreement, to stop the war and to open the borders so that, people, especially the poorer people, will not suffer. And what Israel does is to go every time and interrupt and to mash up and to mess up these agreements. Every time Israel does that, friends, there's a problem on the stock market. There's a problem with oil. There's a problem with logistics, with shipment, movement. Who suffers? It's people from these small countries. Poorer countries feel the impact. And while the United States feel the impact a little, there are a lot of safety nets, friends, in this country. Whether it's housing or food, there are support systems. But smaller countries, many of these countries are just living on smoke. They're barely paying their bills, barely surviving. They live off of loans. They depend on tourism and people to come into the country in order to give them a buck so that they can take care of their citizens. And that's why I always say, I don't believe the government go into politics. Well, I don't know. I'm just naive, of course. People just go in there to destroy the country. I believe power corrupts. People get in and their head start getting bigger than their body. And they start acting funny. Power drunk, power hungry. They say one thing in opposition. When they get into government, it's a whole different story. The same thing that they criticize is the same thing they're doing. The power is with you, the people. You have the right to remove them, to put them up and to put them down. And when you put them up and they put you through misery, that's your choice. It is still your choice. We got to live with the choices that we make, whether it's marriage, whether it's to buy an old car or an old house, whatever it is, friends, you and I got to live with the choices that we make. Therefore, the best method in making your choices is to take your time. Whether it's a relationship, take time to know her or him. Don't rush. Fools rush in all the time. And when a fool rush in, the fools get a fool's reward. Because the fool don't know that the fool got to stay back, think, reason things. If I buy this, what is going to happen to me? If I buy the old car, do I have the money to repair the old car? Huh? If I run into marriage, do I have the resources to take care of that marriage? So we make a lot of choices, friends, and then sometimes we even curse people off for the choices that they make. I do not curse St. Lucians or Vincentians or Barbadians for choosing their government. But I would continue to argue the point that this government might have been a better government to manage your affairs. But the choice have already been made. The nations got to live with those decisions. Whether it's good policies or bad policies, whether you vote or not, everybody gets caught up, because in a democracy, the majority always win. Whether the majority is influenced by money, influenced by lies or propaganda, the majority always win in the system. This is how you win elections. When people go and cast a ballot for you, then you form the government. You cannot do enough voter tampering in the box to win an election. I don't believe that. I don't think so. You understand what I'm saying? Your country must be highly corrupt in order for that to happen. All your institutions, for that to happen, would have been compromised. Both your police agencies, the government systems that are there to keep the system healthy. The people got to blame themselves. We can run all over the place with blames, but ourselves. So there's some stuff on. The Prime Minister of the UK stepped down, and I mean, up there's a whole set of stepping down when it comes to, because the pressure, up there in the UK, it's not easy, and so these guys just don't feel that they have the support of the people, and they give up quickly. The United States, they're getting ready for the midterm elections. I think we have it early voting now, and then the people go and make a decision. And I can tell you what I'm feeling here in the United States is that the Democratic Party, the Democrats, are trying to build a tidal wave to wash out the Republicans. We see Republicans stepping down, saying, "Look, I'm no longer a Republican." You listen to some of the political hacks within the Labour Party, the Republican Party, and they're jumping ship. They're saying, "Look, this is not going to look good for us, and we got to be able to turn this around." But there's something about politics that a lot of people don't understand: perception, and there are events that leaves a lasting mark on the minds of the people. There is there are events in politics that leaves a mark. No matter how you shout and you pray and you show that you have good policies and you're the best, there's some events that sticks in the minds of voters, and they will not go out to vote. And we see the trend around the world where people are not showing up, people are not feeling, because there are events that have left a scar on them from both parties. Whether it's a root supporter of the UWP, a root supporter of the SLP or the Democrats or the Republican, that leaves a scar. And that's why people got to be nice to each other. If you believe in your party and you believe in the policies of your party, you got to be able to sell that to others. And the best way to sell something, it's with love, patience, and respect. You don't curse somebody's mother because they're a different party than you. You want them to buy into what you're selling. And that is what many political parties could not have overcome, especially my party could not have overcome it, because we had a lot of rude supporters. We had a lot of rude leaders also who were disrespectful, of course, who were not able to leave a good impression on the minds of the voters. Some have left confusion in the minds of the people, and this is what happens. There's an old saying, first impression is the lasting impression. You know, somebody get a bad experience, they come to one of your events, they are treated like a low class or no class citizen, that person is turned off. When you turn one of them off, you turn off an entire family. And so people must be able, even when you are discussing on the political lives or news broadcast, and you got to be able to represent your party with dignity and respect, not like an attack dog. Those impressions that are left on the minds of these people will stay with them. And even though their political parties in power and they're disenfranchised with them and they're discouraged and they don't want, you know, they have lose hope in the party, they will not vote for the alternative, because the alternative would have disrespected them. These people stay home. It's reflected, friends, in the polls around the region. It is reflected there. And until a party wake up and really see the reality that we need to get to the point of even controlling our advocates, control the people who say they're speaking in our behalf, control those people who are loudest among you. Unless you can tone them down, train them if possible, teach them some customer service, then you will have the numbers, the voter turnout getting lower and lower and lower. And most of the times the party that's in power will use the power of the influence, and they will keep holding that seat, holding the government, because you have a large group of people who no longer want to get involved because they, you know, so that's why sometimes I hear people go out there and say the UWP, when I hear UWP go out and say the UWP have problems, the UWP not good in public, then they do not understand. They do not understand the power of the town. They do not understand what is called soul winning people. They don't understand that if you go out there and you say to people, oh, my party is messed up, my party is not good, look at what is happening, my party is not following the rules, my party have bad leaders in it and all these kind of things, these people are going to look at your party as dysfunctional, as full of roro, turned off again. Some of you, well, we have to tell the truth, we can't cover up. Yeah, but wisdom would dictate that you hold your mouth. The wise man says, he who is able to hold his tongue, bridle his tongue, is able to control a whole lot of things. But our problem is indiscipline, lack of control, indiscipline, lack of wisdom. And it's reflected even in your political, in your government. People must be able, especially when they're in positions, to control their mouth, their tongue. So let's go over to there's something that we got to look at. Let me just fix my earplug. There is something that we got to look at in the news that I've been trying to figure out, and we will look at the GPH deal from St. Vincent. And we're talking about transparency in government. And we'll look at the deal. Is it with the Arsenal football club, that deal in St. Lucia? And we're going to look at what the now government in opposition was saying about CIP and all the other deals, DHL or DHS, whatever deals that they were fussing about, what they're saying now. That's what we're going to look at. And this is it's very important that we do so. All right? But I don't want anyone fighting or cursing anybody off, you know? All right. So let's get to work. Let's get to work, friends. So, first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to allow you to listen to Mr. Ernest Hilaire, who is the Deputy Prime Minister of St. Lucia. 9 years ago, what he was concerned about then, and I'm going to play you what he's saying now as he in government, and then we will look at the GPH deal in St. Vincent, what Prime Minister Friday is saying, and my opinion about this whole GPH deal. And we're looking at St. Vincent, all right? And then we can maybe browse back into St. Lucia. Also, we're looking at we might not have time for this, to look at the Uber operations in St. Lucia and what the government said to us and what is happening right now on the ground there in St. Lucia. But one thing I want to say to the government of St. Lucia is that you guys won. It is time to move on. You don't have to be in the house wasting the people time when we have major concerns and cost of living issues among the people. You are still talking about December 1st and all these childish, and that's why countries are not moving forward, because of the type of immature men sometimes that you elect sometimes out of lack of wisdom, lack of information, lack of you using your brain, that mind that God has given to you, and you allow people to just talk you into a polling division or station. It's time for the people to use their brain. So all you're hearing every time you tune into a government thing is December the 1st, we won, and major problems. We have increase of water bill in the country. You have electricity, you have infrastructure issues, you have a whole lot of stuff. You have the increase of gas price. You have the bus drivers saying that we will need a raise. You have the nurses, medical and dental association grumbling and griping. You have other workers within the island who are concerned. They're grumbling also. You have a hospital that was promised to you that was opened by the way many of you thought. I listened to your argument on the ground. Many of you said, well, the hospital, we're the only one that could have opened the hospital. The hospital was not open. Then the government said to us, oh, well, we didn't promise a hospital. We promised a building, and we delivered the building. That's what we have. We had a big ceremony for that. A big ceremony should be to say to you, look, the hospital is open. We have moved everyone from the stadium. And that should have been a jubilee, a celebration, not only by the Labour Party supporters. It should have been celebrated by all St. Lucian. Now you understand how we have dragged politics into everything, that we cannot even function as a society anymore. We do not celebrate when we should celebrate, because everything is just deep, hard politics. No one is saying, well, let's have a timeout. Of course, here is something that is that we should celebrate in our nation. A hospital opening, functioning, should be a massive celebration between both opposition and government. Not one saying, oh no, I ain't going to the people thing. No, whether you go in the people thing or not, you will end up there once you're living on the island and you get sick or in an accident. You will end up at one of the health institutions, medical institutions in the country. So when something is open that can take people out from a stadium into something different, that is cause for a national celebration. But when Labour Party decides that, come in red, or this is our event and it is used as a political strategy, then the nation loses out. Because what happened in December should not have happened, where you have only this celebration of a handing over. And when you're looking for the opposition United Workers' Party, either they're not invited or they cannot be there because of the government that is in power. That is not the property of the St. Lucia Labour Party. It is the property of the people of St. Lucia. And now they are being told you will get it at the end of June, you will get it at the end of July, you will get it in the next few months, we are commissioning it, we're getting there, give us time. That's not what you told the people. You told them that, yes, look, everything finished. And we're moving people in. And if I ask the people tonight if they are going over to the new hospital for services, I am not sure what they're going to say. If I ask them whether the stadium is still functioning as a hospital, I am not sure what they're going to say. Because we're still asking the question, where is the St. Jude Hospital? We celebrated. I understand you celebrate the milestone that, look, the building is finished. We said, as a government, we're going to give you this building. We finished the building. I can understand that. But the emphasis should not be only on we give you a building, a handing over a building. We didn't promise you a hospital. We were promised a hospital. Because we could have moved into any building. You understand what I'm saying? You were promised a hospital with the building, with equipment, with services, a functioning hospital. That's what the people have been asking for, not a building. The building is already in the red. It was already in the red. There was already cost overrun. It was already a national embarrassment. What the people were concerned about was a hospital, a functioning hospital. But because the people are not engaged correctly, then the people are misled. And I'm saying that St. Jude should have been a national thing, the nation thing, and not just dragged into all this political craziness that we saw. So let's go over to Mr. Healy, I believe it is 9 years ago. We have the clip 9 years ago, and then we will just bear with us. Then we will get back over to Mr. Hilaire just a few days ago when questions were posed to him on the Arsenal deal, football club deal. The press kind of pushed him a bit there to get information, and he made some statements that we will want to go over. All right, let's go over to this clip, folks.
A number of outstanding issues that had to be settled, and they still have not, in our minds, certainly from what we knew when we left, had been settled. And I raised about 8 of them, and Moses raised a number of them. And again, let's go, if you want, I can go over some of the critical ones for you. Up to the time we were negotiating, and we still need to know whether or not the developer has provided financials. Let's go for the process. For a project to be CIP status approved, you send in a proposal to CIP and you start negotiations on it. That project has to go to DCA, where it gets approval in principle. Approval in principle means that the project can move on to the next stage. That developer sends to the CIP of unit all his project documents, the concept, his financials. And that's really critical because remember, and let's try and understand how the CIP operates. If a developer is going to build a hotel in Central that is $300 million, and he wants to use CIP, he has to say to us how much of the $300 million he is providing as financing into it and how much he wants from CIP. So assuming he says, I'm going to put 30% of my financing. So 30% of 300 million, he's going to put it in. He wants 70% from CIP. It means now 70% of 300 million is 210 million, right? He will then get a number of citizenships, each one 300,000 worth, that make up the 210 million. In that case, it's 700, about 700. So we will say to him, as a developer, you can market and sell 700 St. Lucian citizenships to make up that money to complement your 30% to build a hotel. So any proposal to CIP must clearly state how much the developer is putting in, how much profit he is making, and therefore to determine how many citizenships to give him. At the time we had left, the developer had not put on the table exactly what's involved in 2.6 billion. So is that 2.6 billion just construction and development costs and not his profit? Or is that 2.6 billion is his construction cost plus his profit? Now let's assume his construction cost is 1.6 billion. It means he's making $1 billion US profit. Now the 1.6 billion is construction costs. How much of it is he putting in? Is he putting in 600 million? Or is he putting in 15 million and the 1.6 billion, the balance, is from our citizenships? Because we never wanted, as a policy, a situation where a developer is coming in, virtually financing his project through citizenship, and also making a huge profit, also through citizenship, because it's not fair to the country, it's not fair to other developments. And up to the point we had left, we had not seen financials for us to study it, and to see whether or not, just calculate 2.6 billion by 300,000, and it tells you how many citizenships St. Lucia will have to give up. Now, we're not saying don't do it.
Now, I hope you appreciate, this is 9 years ago, from a press conference from the opposition, then opposition, the SLP, that is Mr. Ursula, who is the Deputy Prime Minister of St. Lucia. And he's calculated, he's saying you can calculate and you can figure out the figures. The United Workers' Party, as far as I remember, did exactly use the formula that he's given. And he said that they were crazy. But here is Mr. Hilaire doing the very same thing that here's Mr. Hilaire complaining that the then United Workers' Party was not being transparent and the people need to know basically the deal, what's in it. He's questioning, we want to know what's the deal, basically. We have to give up citizenship, whatever millions and billions of dollars involved, and he's putting figures together. And this was, my friends, in opposition I believe this was 9 years ago. So let's go back over again, and I want you to just listen to our politicians, and that's why I want you to be very careful with all politicians. Put your trust in God and not man. You hear what I'm saying to you people? You are safer there. All right? Politicians will fail you. That's just a fact. But I want you to listen to the hypocrisy of politicians on the whole. In opposition, say one thing, and in government, they say something totally different. All right? Let's go back.
Also making a huge profit, also for citizenship, because it's not fair to the country, it's not fair to other developments. And up to the point we had left, we had not seen financials for us to study it and to see whether or not, Just calculate 2.6 billion by 300,000, and it tells you how many citizenships St. Lucia will have to give up. Now, we're not saying don't do it. We're saying put in your financials. So let me see the 2.6 billion, what's involved in it. Is it 2.4 billion costs and you're making 200 million profit? Is it 1 billion costs and you're making 1.6 billion profit? Because every dollar comes from our citizenship. But he might say, look, it's 2.6 billion and I'm putting $2 billion of my cash and I only need 600 million from the citizenship. We don't know. And up to when we had left, the developer had not put on the table the financials for the CIP to assess it. Now, the agreement has been signed. Does that mean the developer can go out there and start marketing and start, promoting and selling investments? Because the Prime Minister already said that the legislation is amended to allow for horse racing. He said that the numbers have been increased, which he cannot increase, it has to be increased by Parliament. Does that mean the developer is out there marketing the project already because he's already signed the agreement? But he's not been submitted to CIP yet. He's not gotten DCA approval yet. Now, of course, you can sign an agreement and say subject to DCA approval, subject to CIP approval. But then you can't start selling a project because you don't know if you're going to get DCA approval or CIP approval. You follow the process. So we're not saying that's one reason why we had not signed it. We wanted the developer to also do an environmental impact assessment. If you're going to use the Moncote swamp, like Uzani can speak some more about it, about the environmental impact. And let me tell you, they have a brilliant idea for the use of the area. They have a brilliant idea. But these are critical lands. Can we see the environmental impact assessment? How would it affect the entire coast when you do what you're planning to do there? Not that the idea is not good. When you see it on a video, you see the plans, it's like, wow, this is going to transform St. Lucia. But what will be the effect on the entire coast? Can you tell us, can you do the study and tell us? We're not saying no, but do the study first. Let us see what the impact will be on St. Lucia. If we're happy with the impact, go ahead. If we're not happy with the impact, can you amend it? Can you change it? And those are the things we were saying to the developer. We love the concept. We believe it will transform the South. But how are you going to deal with the environmental issues? We also believe you should have dialogue with the people in the South. Because the way the project is going to develop is like a village in the entire South by its own. But St. Lucians go through that area all day long and traverse that area. So can you have a consultation with Viewfort North, Viewfort South, Library, and explain to people how this thing is going to transform their lives? This is going to be an entire new village. So has there been consultation with the people in the South so that at least they can see what the concept is? At least people can say, look, we like the concept.
So this is about the DSH. So Mr. Healy said, look, do an impact study. Let the people know what is happening. Consult with the people. Do an impact study, which he's right. You got to do impact studies to see how the environment is going to be disturbed, what damage, the impact on the area, how it's going to impact the people in the area. He's right. He's right. But what I'm saying is that this is, and I want you to listen carefully, folks. I want you to listen carefully to our leaders. And I'm going to play the other video from a few weeks ago with what he's saying to the St. Lucian people who are asking for transparency and accountability, just like he's asking here 9 years ago. He's asking, yes, tell the people, how much is it going to be? Very fine, very correct. But the question is, what have changed? We have the GPH deal. He said, well, we can't put out the people business. We had CIP with Galaxy. Well, I can't just put out the people business. I can't tell you the people business. We would not have investors coming in if I tell you the people business. But here is this brother 9 years ago asking for the people's business. Well, of course, it's the people of St. Lucia's business, but there he's asking now, 9 years ago, of information so he can make assessment on what is going on at the DSH.
But can you move it a little more so at least there's an area reserved for St. Lucians? That has not been done. And when we were negotiating, we were saying before we sign, there has to be consultation with people in the South. And we're asking the question, did that happen? So, I mean, yes, we were very close. We had agreed a broad framework, but there were some critical points: the financials, the consultation, the environmental impact. We needed.
So, folks, with the DSH deal, what Mr. Hila is saying is that they had no problems with the deal. It's just that talk to the people and show some paperwork, some finance and everything else. But the way they were arguing the DSH deal, they were saying horses before hospitals. Remember that? And not only that, they were saying to you that we give away, the UWP, United Workers Party, give away the property of St. Lucia to foreigners. But he's saying that they had loved the deal and nothing was wrong with it and it was good and they had agreed and everything else. But that's not to you what you were told, right? In election campaigns after this, it was like this age was not good and it was the worst thing and there's foreigners coming in and take our lands and everything else. But yet he's saying that we did not have a problem with it except for the studies and consultation.
Some critical points: the financials, the consultation, the environmental impact. We needed to have some more dialogue on it before we really presented this and sign off on it. But critical, it has not received CIP status yet, approval status. It has not approved this year approval status yet. But is the developer out there marketing and promoting the project already?
So what about the 500 applicants cap? Was the previous administration?
All right. So now we are going to go over to now.
The previous occasion, I was asked a similar question relating to another commercial agreement that the government had signed. And I indicated then that we were not in the business of putting out in public the value of agreements that were confidential commercial agreements. And I explained then that that is not a new practice. You sit with commercial partners, you negotiate an agreement, and there is an understanding that you would not make public unless required by court or other statutory bodies to make public such documents. And then I said to you, I was not going to release details, some of the commercial details of it, because that was an understanding. And that's not new. That happens with successive governments. So for example, if I ask you, what's the value of the Kings cricket, St. Lucia Kings contract? It was never made public by the last government. Never made public. And I won't make it public. Because again, you negotiate a commercial agreement. Now, you could ask, why would entities not want commercial details to be made public? For obvious reasons. You negotiate with other entities. You don't want one entity to know what you had given one entity. It undermines your negotiating position. And therefore, businesses do not release all the commercial agreements. Ask any of the businesses in St. Lucia whether they would necessarily want the commercial information be put out in public. Now, you may want to say to me, this is government, and therefore government should put out in public every agreement that it signs. And I would say to you, not necessarily. People elect government to make decisions, to represent them, to act on their behalf, and in their best interests. And therefore, one does not expect every agreement to be made public. There are times when you need to do so, and you would be required to do so, and you should do so. But then if you start releasing all the details of the agreement, there are developers and foreign entities and governments and other business partners who will not want to deal with you. Because all of a sudden, all what they discuss with you, you have a partnership. It gives certain details, and everybody knows that. You now need to go and negotiate as a business with somebody else, and they already know what you gave for what price. It really weakens their own negotiating position. So I'm not going to necessarily release, and I saw figures being banded around. I'm not going to comment on those figures, except to...
Now, remember in the last video, Mr. Healy was throwing out figures at a press conference of the SLP, and that was 9 years ago. But now he said that he's not going to throw out figures and he's not going to pay attention to the figures that are being thrown out by St. Lucians, who were just asking, what's the cost? What would it cost taxpayers? How would taxpayers know? We got to get some laws in the land to protect the citizens from contractual agreements with governments, between governments and external business people. You got to have, the ability for disclosure within, and that also help with checks and balances, because we keep accusing governments of making bad deals or being corrupt, and the only way we can fix that, both governments can fix this, is by passing a public disclosure law where government agencies, when we go into negotiations, that we disclose to the general public, that we let them know what is going on, especially if it deals with the assets, the asset of St. Lucians, or Vincentians, or Grenadians, lands, beachfront areas, millions of dollars. That is going to be a burden on the backs of the people. I think there's need. I honestly believe that this government can do something about all the questions that they had about DSH and CIP then. I believe they have the power right now to put laws in place or to lead by example, by being more transparent and to disclose, some of these agreements. They have the opportunity, based on all their complaints in the past. Here is the perfect opportunity to fix it through laws.
To tell you the figures are dead wrong. They're dead wrong. But tomorrow I'm going to be in the House, and I'm going to go into some details on the agreement. But let me just say quickly to you, and this is not the first time I've been through this. I was PS Youth and Sports. The government had taken a decision to build a cricket ground at Beausejour. And the government was blasted that we were wasting money to build a cricket ground and that we should continue to play at Mindo Phillip Park. And Mario Michel, Armstrong Alexis, and then myself when I became PS, had to explain to the public that St. Lucia had actually been barred from hosting international cricket because Mindo Phillip Park could not meet the standards for international cricket. And then the UWPs came back and said, well, upgrade Mindo Phillip Park to meet international standards. And we explained to them the location, the setting, the size. It just could not fit there. We needed to get a new venue, and that we were going to build one at Beausejour. And then they argued, why Beausejour? Take the cricket ground to Vieux-Fort, because most people who play cricket are in Vieux-Fort. And the stadium we were going to build in Vieux-Fort, we should put it up north. And we had to explain to them, you can't put a cricket ground so far from where the accommodation of players will be, because international standards require a certain period of time by which players can move via transportation. So you mean take them to Vieux-Fort in the morning for a game, take them back up in the evening, take them back next morning, take them back up? It would not make sense. There are international guidelines on those things. And therefore you had to put the cricket ground close to where the accommodation center was. They came back again and they said, but what about the future? You're not thinking about the future. In 10, 15 years, you thought we'd have enough hotels and it would make a difference. And you had to explain to them, we were building a cricket ground. There was World Cup coming up in 4 years. We had to place St. Lucia strategically where we could be able to become an attractive option for hosting cricket World Cup matches. And it would not make sense to put it in Vieux-Fort. And they blasted the government. Tomorrow I'll give the full story. But we not only build the cricket ground, we produce a West Indies captain who won 2 World Cups. We've produced other players for the West Indies cricket team.
All right. I mean, I'm trying to get. I'm going to get to the questions from the press. So basically, we could not have developed View Fort because we needed a quick fix for the World Cup that was coming up. We had to put the stadium where the accommodation is, and that's why I mean View Fort is View Fort. It's lagging. It's behind, honestly, on some of the developments that they should have benefited from, and maybe we should have asked Sandals or some of those hoteliers to put up some hotels in View Fort for us. Let's get some development up there. Not only that, you're developing in View Fort, you're providing employment for View Fort because Grossile, you know, I mean, that place is already stifling with development and hotels and work up there. So, I mean, if we can do this, if we can build a stadium in 4 years, we also could have had hotels going up at the same time so that, you know, we would have and that, Mr. Healy, I would say to you, and I see where you're coming from, but what I'm saying is that View Fort, that would have been the perfect opportunity to develop View Fort quickly. That 4 years, you guys would have gotten credit for developing View Fort, putting a major stadium up there close to the airport. Right, so you had to transport them from the airport to Grosley. Huh? Right, so let's think about it. You have the international airport, you have the stadium, and you have new hotels in the area there. That right there is what you call real development that impacts the people. But don't say we had to put it in Grosley because of this and requirement. No, we could have dealt with all that. We have the ability. I believe these people of St. Lucia, we have the ability, you have the ability to do big things. And listening to you, Doc, that was the perfect opportunity to just put View Fort on the map. International airport, major stadium, you have new hotels, Sandals and other hotels right there outside of the airport. Do you know what it is to have, you know the cost of hotels outside of an airport? In the direct vicinity of an airport? That's expensive. You have your car rentals, you have your hotels, you have a major stadium, you have your business centers, all that around the area there. That would have brought employment. And I believe, Mr. Hiller, that it is within the people of St. Lucia. It was within them to get that done. While the stadium is going on, you guys have hotels being built at the same time. That would have been a tremendous opening for the people of St. Lucia. So I would say, in my humble estimate, this is just me, Mr. Hilaire, is that you guys failed the people there. In my own estimate, listening, you said we only had 4 years. We could have built a hotel in 4 years. We could have built the stadium and the hotel together, both at the same time. Engage international partners for that type of development. You guys would have been getting all the credit right now for those major developments in View Fort. And I think the time is still there for us to do big things over there in View Fort. So I would say that you guys lacked the vision at the time. And there was an opening, as I said. There was an opening, a major opening there for hotels, a new stadium, and all that development and movement in View Fort. That would have been such a massive deal right now to have Sandals and all these major hotels, at least 2-3 of them going up while the stadium is going up there. That would have been real business up in View Fort. I'm just looking in and just talking. Of course, you guys would have had more information in order to make your decision.
Where we are. Think about this. Curacao is at the World Cup. St. Lucia did beat Curacao, you know. And they had the World Cup.
But this is not about the beating and stuff. It is about developing the Vieux Fort Basin. That's what it was about. It should have been about too.
And tomorrow, like I said, in Parliament, I want to take my time and to really go through it.
All right, but before we get to Parliament, I do want to ask, what does, because the partnership goes two ways. So what does Arsenal stand to gain from this partnership? Why St. Lucia?
Well, you see, that's a very good question. And sometimes, and some St. Lucian, somebody posted something, as if the Arsenal deal is too big for St. Lucia. And you know, as a St. Lucian, I felt a little offended. And I was going to post a response, but I said, you know, I didn't want to get into the politics. He's a crazy person. I won't tell you who that crazy person is.
Now, you realize what happened there. He accused someone of being crazy because they said, well, it's a big deal, too big for St. Lucia. So he wanted to respond to them, and but they're crazy. That type of stigmatizing people, I'm not too kosher with that, especially from our leaders. You can disagree with that person, but what you cannot do is to diagnose them as a government, and that's one of the weaknesses too of this government, calling citizens name, treating citizens as though they do not have rights of their opinions. And here is an opinion of one St. Lucian saying, look, it's too big. That's one opinion. That person is a St. Lucian. Whether they're sane or they have mental challenges, people do have mental challenges. And for you to use that type of rhetoric on a St. Lucian, diagnosing them, of course, and then brushing them aside because they're mental, it says a lot of how we deal with our mentally challenged people in the nation, in the country, how we see them, how we deal with them. And I would love to look at facilities that are in place for those who are mentally challenged, because based on the rhetoric here, it seems as though once you have mental issues, that you're not a citizen, you should be treated a certain way, brushed aside, and I think that's what I'm gathering from this discussion. And I believe our ministers need to use a lot more wisdom in what they say on the media, of course. For me, this is bad, and I think the minister erred here in accusing a citizen who criticized, and he did not agree with the criticism, wanted to respond, but said that this person is mental. So you just brush that aside. And maybe everybody else is mental who challenge the government and question the government, criticize the government. Maybe that's what you're saying about these other citizens. So this is kind of bad rhetoric from governments. And that's what it is. We got to call it out for what it is. And sadly, the press was laughing at it. And it means that they're not sensitized. They do not have, I don't know if they're trained to understand that there are people in your society that have mental illness. It doesn't mean that they're bad people. They went through the depression, and like there are different stages of mental illness. And I to be laughing at a mental person like that, even as the press minister makes that statement, and you're laughing because it might be lack of sensitization on these people. They're humans and must be treated as humans. All my life, I've practiced not disrespecting mentally ill people, because they are not in their minds, and some of them are just going through a temporary breakdown and would need support of all sectors in society. And for the government minister to just, brush this off as a mental person making a statement, and then chuck about it, and then the press is laughing also about this, whoever that mental person is. If that person is mental at all, you might disagree with the person's statement, but I'm not sure if you know for a fact that this person have been to the mental health place for intervention. I don't know, but this is something that our ministers need to work on, how they speak about women, about this differently abled people, how they speak about victims in our society, how they refer to those of our people who are going through depression or having some sort of mental issue. We need to work on um, maybe training our public figures in like sensitizing them of dealing with folks in the society and that are challenged. And even the police, you see how they deal with the mentally challenged, those with temporary breakdowns or those who just have been like that for years and would need medication to help them just survive, just live, and go along their business in the society. So this in 2026, I think this is bad rhetoric from the minister, and it's also bad rhetoric from the press laughing on very sad indeed. Any one of us can have a mental breakdown. Any one of us can be out of our mind temporarily or permanently. Sickness don't ask you whether you want to be sick. Sickness happens, especially when you live in a stressed society. Then you will have more people needing mental support. So I'm just saying, sir, and to the press, you guys need to be more sensitive towards those who are going through these mental challenges. I just wanted to say that.
Into this, but we have a vision. We have a vision, just like we had for cricket, just like we had for track and field. And tomorrow, like I said in Parliament, I want to take my time and to really go through it.
All right, but before we get to Parliament, I do want to ask, what does, because a partnership goes two ways, so what does Arsenal stand to gain from this partnership? Why St. Lucia?
Well, you see, that's a very good question. And sometimes, and some St. Lucian, somebody posted something, as if the Arsenal deal is too big for St. Lucia. And as a St. Lucian, I felt a little offended. And I was going to post a response, but I said, I didn't want to get into the politics. He's a crazy person. I won't tell you what that crazy person is. It's too big for St. Lucia.
So and it is within the minister's right, like I said, to disagree, of course. But what I said it earlier, what I discover with some of these government ministers is they have lack of respect for the citizens, whether it's insults or calling, people names on television, attacking people, and we saw it with how they treated Mr. Chastney in Parliament. Is always an attack on him personally as an individual, and most of the times not on his policies. It's more about you remember what it was about color and about this and accent, and there was a lot of that. And it says to me that we need to have our international partners coming into the country to have to train our politicians. There's one thing to have a doctorate and all those things, but it's another thing. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't want to downgrade anyone or disrespect anyone with their qualifications, of course. But I'm just, as I said, really concerned about this rhetoric. Mr. Healy is not the only one that we've seen doing this. A lot of this government, the ministers, going down this path. And if I see it anywhere else, I'm going to call it out, because I work with individuals who are challenged too. There are times when I do work with them, and I understand how they operate, the mind. They have no control, or lack of control, or limited control over their actions. And that's where we come in to offer that support to these individuals. And so I take this very seriously. And if it's brought to my attention that any UWP's member or minister or candidate are doing this thing, I would call it out, because it's not the right thing to do at all. It's really not. It's not funny either, you know?
Why can't we be global? Why can't brand St. Lucia not be among the brands in the world that people look at? Look at our achievements as a small country. We're punching above our weight.
And nobody is not saying that, we should not aim for the stars for the country. The discussion is about transparency. The question is, what is the deal? What's the cost? What is it going to cost taxpayers? That's all the question. Not all this drama about people don't want. This is a big deal. It's good to have, you go to London or you go to Europe and you see a St. Lucia branded, the name St. Lucia on a vehicle or on a billboard or at a mall or on some T-shirt. You feel good about it when you go and you see even your country's flag in a different country. So branding is important, especially for these small developing states that are surviving off of tourism. We don't have bananas and all those things. So branding is okay. I'm not fighting or shooting this deal down, but what I'm saying is, if the people are asking, and that's why I said not much about this, I'm not going to get into back and forth with the deal, because both governments make these kind of deals ever so often with branding and everything else. It's part of marketing, and like I said to you, elections do have consequences. The party that wins gets to implement their agenda. You understand? And that's just how it is. We can't bend yourself out of shape. But when the people start asking for accountability, we must step up and not beat around the bush and call them names. So the people are asking, what is the deal? What is the cost? What's the figure? What's the dollar amount for this deal? And it's a real question. Just like you were asking about CIP 9 years ago, what's the deal? What's in it? Did this? You were asking those questions because those are real questions that should be asked. But let's not go down that path, my friend.
By land mass, by GDP, and beyond that. And can I also say, and I'll make it more, we have other entities that want to have partnerships with us. Formula One. We have football teams from Italy, from France. The Minister of Sports and myself have had discussion for a football team from France that also wants to have a partnership with St. Lucia. Baseball, well, we already do some baseball with the Yankees and whatnot. So, the point I'm making is that we have gone out there, we have positioned St. Lucia in certain spaces, and we've spoken about brand St. Lucia, not just tourism, brand St. Lucia, fashion. We sent designers to Lagos Fashion Week last year, to New York last year. We're looking to do even more this year. We're placing St. Lucia in the whole global culinary scene.
So the question is, what is the figure? What's the amount? And would it show up in the budget? Is it in the budget? How are we going to know what it is costing us as a country? That's the question. All this drama is not necessary. The question is still there. And any citizen who are concerned about the country, whether it's SLP, UWP, you're going to ask those questions. Just like you asked about DHS deal, and, I'm not going to beat down anyone for asking those questions. CIP questions. You question deals. You remember we had the, we had the Grindberg and all those things. Those were questions that people were asking. You remember they said that the seabed was sold and all this kind of story? With, I believe, was it Kenny Anthony? People are asking all those questions. People want to know. And if the people are asking, governments need to answer these questions. They need to respect the people of the nation. Don't just label everybody as UWP. Because every time there's a criticism or there's a question or concern, it's UWP. They're independent people out there in the nations who are asking questions. They're not in any party, and they just want to know. They just want to know. Doesn't mean you have to label them as crazy, as mad, as UWP. UWP are humans. UWPs are solutions. Just like SOP are solutions. So a UWP, they're entitled to ask questions too. Everybody's entitled to ask questions. So my greatest problem and gripe is that something that is looking more and more like lack of transparency when it comes to deal making. Remember Emma said, well, we made a deal, I had a deal, and only me know, nobody knows, I had a deal, a secret deal, and blah, blah, blah. And you see the trend continues. What was the deal with BMAX? Oh, yeah, BMAX, it's going up. Don't worry, it's going up. GPH? Oh, yeah, that's not your business, it's going up. Visas, green card, all you. Oh yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's not your business. I'm not a this. I'm not a that. And there's a trend, folks, that you are seeing, and it's not positive. Like I said to you, I'm not fighting this deal, the Arsenal deal, because branding is important for any country who wants to survive in this market. Even at the school that I work, people are talking about St. Lucia. Just today, St. Lucia, I want to go back to St. Lucia. People remember going up the hills and down the hills. These are my friends at school, the teachers, going up the hill, down the hill, and going to sandals. And they speak about it with joy. And this is a fact. So branding is important. Branding is important. I said to them, yes, St. Lucia's a beautiful country. Why don't you make a trip there? Yeah, we want to go back. My husband, we got married there, blah, 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 and stuff like that. So it is important, but with branding and with us wanting to see the country survive and make it in the tourism market, there must be transparency. There must be some level of transparency. And when the questions are being asked, answer them in a professional way. Don't attack the individuals who are asking the question. Don't call them crazy. Don't call them UWP. And even though you know that they're UWP, answer the questions because they're solutions. When you say to them they're UWPs and stuff like that, you're saying, well, it's not their business. They should not be asking questions because if you're not SLP, you're not St. Lucian. And like I said to you, I was concerned about this whole you're not patriotic, you're enemy of the state. This is very serious rhetoric, and a lot of people use it loosely because they don't even know how to spell it sometimes. Enemy of the state. Enemy of the state. You ask a question like this person is asking the question, enemy of the state, you're crazy. No, they are not. It's healthy going forward. It is healthy, and I'm telling you, this country can be much greater than it is if all the people would put their heads together and agree to disagree. I am telling you, this place would be paradise. But when people start feeling like they're being stifled, they got to, if they're afraid to ask questions because they're afraid that they will lose their job, somebody will come on television and insult them. So instead, they just stifle their conscience. That's not a healthy democracy. It's not a healthy society. And that's a fact. If you're part of a church, any organization that you cannot question, you cannot ask questions, you cannot engage the leadership, then you need to get out of that thing. Something is wrong with it. But people should, just like the UWPs are asking, where's the last report of the study after our loss? People are asking genuine questions. This year, the United Workers' Party, they're doing their reviews and everything else. People will know. At the convention, everybody will know. Because transparency is important for any civil society. It's transparency. When there's transparency, what happens is that people take ownership. Yes, when there's transparency, people are in the know. They take ownership. If you have a house and only you and your wife know what is going on with your finance and everything else, and your children don't know, they will run your water bill up. They will have your electricity, your light on all night and fan. And when they're not in the house, it will still be on. They will just eat. They will just throw things in the garbage. They wouldn't take responsibility or ownership because they don't know. You're not sharing information with them. But once you can say to the kids, you know, we're living on a very tight finance. Dad is making this amount and we're spending this amount on food and energy, water and stuff and blah, blah, blah. So we got to be very careful how we use the water. Most likely the kids will take leadership, ownership, and they will start cutting back. They will start closing the fridge. They will start turning off the water. When they go to shower, they will not just have the water because they're taking ownership. It's the same idea with the nation. People take ownership. This is my government. Why is my government? Because they're transparent. We are hearing what is happening. We know what is happening. We know exactly what the deal is, how much it's going to cost. And nothing is wrong with saying that, you know, we just went into a $1 million deal with the Arsenal group and it's going to be good for the country. We're going to be marketed out there. They're going to be proper branding and it's going to be big and everything else. You build up the excitement. But once you block the excitement and you start with that's not your business, we can't tell you, we have to ask them before we can tell you, then you're putting the foreigners first and then the citizens. You understand what I'm saying? And I hope I make sense. I'm subject to correction. But what I'm saying, if you want a more just society, a more involved society, ones that take ownership of the country, I mean, you got to get them involved. Very true, very important. I'm very correct on this one, folks. All right? So let's just go. Let's just listen to the minister a little more. And I see some of you saying, oh, I don't want to see him. I don't want to listen to him. Do you not want, when the United Workers' Party wins, that people listen to us? Do you not want that? There's a saying in the scriptures, do unto others as you have them to do unto you, and render unto Caesar the things of the Caesar. You might not like Caesar, but Caesar is in charge. Yeah. You don't like Pharaoh, but he's in charge. You know, God might have to send plagues to get Pharaoh out, but he's in charge and you're going to be living under him, under his leadership. So whoever wins the elections, folks, get to do stuff. Whether you like it or not, that's a fact. Whoever wins get to implement their policies. That's why you have to ensure that you win. How you ensure that you win during an election is by selling the vision. Not just selling it with your mouth, but showing compassion, love. Not insulting people and writing people off, calling people are dogs and stuff like that. No, you win people with love. You win them with love, with compassion. And until we understand that, then we will continue to be crying foul. So I'm saying we got to adjust our mentality. You got to listen. Sometimes it's hard for me to listen. But I have to listen in order to understand where the other person is or are. So that I can put up my defense so that I can sell them something different. Can say, look, here's the deal. Here's what we can do, or here's what we did. And then you can go back to COVID. Here's what we did during COVID. This is how we can manage. Huh? So you start selling. Most of the times what we do is all we say is the other side is bad. But you got to show your good side, your leadership style. You got to show your ability to implement policies that can lift all tides, that can lift all boats. You got to be able to sell something different. Sometimes we can point out errors, but the solution is something that is important while we're identifying problems in a nation. We got to provide solutions. Here's how we're going to move this stone without affecting anyone around the stone. People always want to know, how are you going to affect my life positively? That's what people want to know from politicians. And whether the politicians lie to them and say, well, this is how we're going to do it, and you're going to be benefiting, they're going to listen, they're going to vote. But the people are funny also. So let's listen quickly, and then we'll move on.
And I think for me, people who start asking questions about, have you done the ROI? Of course I can do ROI. Have you done the feasibility? Of course I have done feasibility. The big question is, are our institutions and our people ready? Are our creatives ready? Is Exports and LUCIA ready? Because that's what we need to do. We have an opportunity. We've created it. And can I tell you, the Arsenal arrangement is the first of many to come. So if they are rah-rah now, can you imagine in a few months how they will be? So,
and this is the problem. He's saying if they are a rah-rah. Now, how does a government minister govern like this? Who are they a rah-rah? You understand what I'm saying? How are you dividing? How are you? So if they are rah-rah now, so I just wanted you to see what I'm saying, folks, for yourself. Listen to what I'm saying to you for yourself. When you govern for all the people. And you're going to go through criticism. It's going to come. People are going to disagree. But it doesn't mean as a man in power, with power comes responsibility. And government ministers need to understand that they're hired by the people. By the people. And when I say by the people, I mean by the people. You are hired by the majority of the people to work. You are representing the people, all the people of the country, not the SLP. And you are speaking about the UWP when you say if they are rah-rah now. The UWPs are not a rah-rah over development. The people are asking about transparency. The people are also asking about the protection of our women. A young lady sent to Oman was killed. And it appears that the system failed her. So the young people, I realize, are rising up and they're speaking out. Are you going to label them as a rah-rah? No, you got to listen to the concerns of the citizens. The criticism, it helps you to present a better product. Not all criticism is meant for your destruction. And I'm very much aware that there are those, all they want to bank on is negativity. They don't see positive. So I'm seeing this type of rhetoric is dwarfing the nation. You constantly are getting one side upset and you're getting one side happy. The government should strive to make both sides happy. So you don't just attack every opportunity. One person criticized is the UWP. And that's how they do it. Look at what, I'm saying, look, I'm not even criticizing the deal. I'm just saying people are asking questions. Governments are to answer questions from the people. That's your responsibility, to answer the questions and the concerns, to deal with their concerns. You don't brush them off as being a rara. When they question about the water bills and the lights and everything else and the gas, are they a rara? Of course they're rara, because they've been affected. And if when you are affected, you get upset, you get angry, you want to sue, you want to do this because you are rah-rah, you're upset. Everybody gets a rah-rah at times. Everybody gets upset. If a rah-rah means upset, if it means she and other things, then oops, I'm sorry, I can't help you here. But everybody gets tired, everybody gets fed up, everybody gets, especially when you can't even put a couple gallons of gas in your vehicle, you get upset. When you go to the supermarket and you see the price, you get upset. You get a rah-rah. When you look at your water bill and your light bill, of course you get a rah-rah. And just to add on it, when flow, have a damaged fiber optic line under the water, you get a rah-rah because you don't have the comfort of the service. So you get angry. You jump into all kind of conclusions because you don't understand it's a fiber line, and fiber line do get damaged at times. And even, the best of technology will fail for a while. And that we will have to be inconvenienced for a while. COVID-19 was a major inconvenience, and people did not know how to deal with that inconvenience. And they thought, well, it was the UWP who brought COVID, the UWP who was taking away their freedom. And you heard how the SLP played on the minds of those people when they were out of their comfort zone. They couldn't move, they couldn't drink, they couldn't be in any mass crowd. That was their comfort zone. Once you move people out of their comfort zones, then people will respond in a way. You understand what I'm saying? So this rah-rah thing is not necessary, Mr. Healy.
I want us to have in St. Lucia a dialogue that centers around people presenting ideas and giving us concepts of how we can.
But when they present their ideas, they are a rah-rah or they're crazy. You just said it. What is it? Do you want the ideas? Ideas will come sometimes through criticism, through questions. Sometimes it have you to go back to the drawing board. It's true. And not every question, as I said, is meant to disrespect or to cause discomfort. It helps to improve. So now you're saying you want them to come, but they're coming and you're saying to them they're rah-rah, they're crazy. So what is it going to be?
Maximize this opportunity. Instead, the Europeans are trying to push us in a corner where we continue with self-doubt and whether we are being wasteful. Wasteful is not a culture.
So now it is the UWP wants to push the country in a corner.
Wasteful is a culture of the other side. I'm not going there. I don't want to focus on them. I want St. Lucians to engage in that dialogue.
So if you understand what is happening here, he said the UWP, I don't want to focus on them. You want to focus on St. Lucians. The UWPs are St. Lucians, sir. They're not the other. They're not them. They are St. Lucians. You saw the categorization, them, us, and St. Lucians. Did you see that? Them, us, the government, them, UWP, and St. Lucians, SLP. Did you see that? Same thing I was saying to you. If you listen carefully, this is psychology. This is psychological. If you take your time to use your brain, assess, bring those dots together, you'll get a piece. You'll get a whole. I'm not sure how many of you listened to what he's saying. Did you hear? Did you understand? He said, them, us, the government, them, the UWP, and the St. Lucians, which represents the only class that's to remain, SLPs. I want you to listen to it again. We're doing active reasoning, thinking, and listening tonight, okay?
The Arsenal arrangement is the first of many to come. So if they are rara now, can you imagine in a few months how they will be? So I want us to have in St. Lucia a dialogue that centers around people presenting ideas and giving us concepts of how we can maximize this opportunity. Instead, the Europeans are trying to push us in a corner where we continue with self-doubt and whether we are being wasteful. Wasteful is not the culture of this government. Wasteful is the culture of the other side. I'm not going there. I don't want to focus on them. I want St. Lucians to engage in that dialogue. Say, look, I have an idea how we can make this work for us. Let's make it work in this way. Let's do this. Let's do that. And for example, one of the things we'll be doing, and I just came from the Arsenal Partners Summit in Munich at the last headquarters, where all the partners met over 3 days. We will be hosting it in St. Lucia. So you think of 45 of the biggest entities.
All right, so we're going to move forward from that, folks, but I hope I'm able to open your eyes. Let's go quickly over to St. Vincent and we'll come back, all right?
Transformation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, maritime and tourism sectors. As you know, very important component of our plans for the development of our country. We are pleased today to be present here to sign a memorandum of understanding with Global Ports Holdings Incorporated, the world's largest cruise port operator, setting out a framework for future operation and development of the Kingstown Cruise Port and addition in the Grenadines in the future. This memorandum of understanding is not the final agreement. However, it establishes the basis upon which both parties will work to finalize a comprehensive partnership that serves the best interest of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the continuing business operations of GPH. The cruise industry continues to evolve, becoming increasingly competitive and capital intensive. When the cruise port, as it is now, was built so many years ago, it was transformative. It was ahead of its time. Now we are lagging behind. Staying abreast and up to date requires significant investment and the use of knowledge, technology, and experience in the business. To remain competitive, our port infrastructure must be modern, efficient, attractive, and capable of delivering world-class experiences for cruise passengers. This partnership is designed to bring international expertise and experience, new investment, enhanced marketing capabilities, and operational excellence to the Kingstown Cruise Port from a company that has vast experience in cruise port operation worldwide, including in the Caribbean. The proposed concession period is for 30 years. The time frame provides for certainty necessary for significant private sector investment and ensures the long-term benefits for our country. The memorandum of understanding that we are about to sign contemplates a phased development program totaling approximately 225 million EC dollars. Phase 1 will be an investment of up to 75 million EC dollars. And it includes the modernization and improvement of cruise terminal facilities in Kingstown, the creation of enhanced public and commercial spaces, supporting infrastructure upgrades throughout the port area, investments aimed at strengthening the shore excursion activities and improving visitor experience to make people want to come back to St. Vincent and the Grenadines again and again. Phase 2 of the project, which comes sometime later, investments will include the expansion and the continuation of developments initiated under Phase 1. It will include marine and berthing infrastructure improvements, further accessibility enhancements, the reconfiguration of the parking and transportation system serving the cruise port areas, additional investments to support future growth in cruise tourism. Also, one of the most important features, and a very important for us, of this memorandum of understanding is its commitment to local participation. That is local involvement in employment at the very highest levels, local involvement in the investments. A special purpose vehicle will be established to allow Vincentian nationals to hold up to 30% ownership in the port operating company. This means Vincentians will have an opportunity to benefit indirectly from the increased economic activity that will naturally follow such a major investment with such a dynamic and reputable partner. And also to participate directly in the ownership and success of the enterprise. The bigger it grows, the more benefit we will derive indirectly and directly from this enterprise. The government will also have representation on the board of directors, ensuring transparency, oversight, and ongoing engagement on behalf of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Importantly, what is the economic and potential economic impact of this undertaking? The proposed investments are expected to create jobs during the construction phase and as a result of the expanded operations of the cruise port facility. It will increase the number of passengers and will create opportunities, lots more opportunities for taxi operators, tour guides, vendors.
All right, so that was Prime Minister Friday of St. Vincent speaking on a memorandum of understanding between the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and also GPH Limited. And you heard him going into details, explaining to the citizens of that country what the deal is all about. And he went through phase 1, phase 2. There is a part of the GPH deal where Vincentians will be able to have 30% ownership in that business, which is a big deal in this deal, I must say, because if you're going to give them the port for 30 years to manage, and I'm sure they will renew it based on the success, by then Vincentians would have had 30% stake in the GPH deal here. Not only that, he explained, the $200 million of investment and the continual development of Port Castries. Let me just give for disclosure that I was born in Kingstown, St. Vincent, and I know the port. I know the development there. There was no port actually where it is now. There was a very aged wharf where you had the geese boats and all the boats coming in. Then you had the ferry docking area. Those were developed over a period of time. We saw Ralph Gonsalves building a multi-million-dollar port facility there in Kingstown. So now we're going to have this new and updated GPH situation there. But the problem here with the difference between the deal of St. Lucia and St. Vincent is that there's more transparency in St. Vincent. You understand what I'm saying? Therefore, it avoids speculation and all these kind of stuff that we do sometimes. Up to now, we have not had a real sit down to figure out. And I want to ask the government of St. Lucia, by the way, who are the local individuals who are invested in this GPH company? That's a question that we're not asking. Because if GPH went over to St. Vincent and they can give 30% ownership to Vincentians, was that the same deal that we have in St. Lucia, where individuals will offer partnership or ownership of the GPH? Those are some of the questions that we would have there in St. Lucia. And what it entails, go into detail. The Prime Minister sat, and this was a memorandum of understanding, This is at the initial stage where they said, okay, based on our discussions, we have agreed to move forward in principle based on these discussions, the 30% ownership of Vincentians, the development of the transportation part of this thing. He went really into the details, putting everything out. But all of a sudden in St. Lucia, you're hearing, we can't put out the investor's business. But this same investor's business is out in St. Vincent, and he's sitting next to Dr. Friday. Is it different negotiators we're dealing with here? Did the Prime Minister of St. Vincent squeezed out the best deal out of GPH? Those are questions. And the question is, did St. Lucia get the best deal out of GPH? I'm just asking these questions. These are important questions. All right? And it does not make me an enemy of the state in asking these questions. But I just showed you the Prime Minister of St. Vincent. Not any other minister. The Prime Minister. Not saying to the people, well, that's not your business, and you guys are enemy of the state. You don't want anything good for the country, and you guys are dogs. You guys are the others. And no, he did not do that. He went in details. He gave figures. He told you the deal is for 30 years. He didn't say 20 years and then 10 years, He told you 30 years. So you can't go behind his back and say, he said this, he said that. No, this is what he's saying right here now. 30 years deal with GPH. 30% ownership for local Vincentians. And this is smart, because what is happening here when you do this, when you are transparent, you kind of keep at bay a lot of criticism. You understand what I'm saying? When you are not transparent, the people will speak up, they will criticize, they will question, they will be in your skin. So this Prime Minister, I think, he understood that, and so he came forward to say to Vincentians, you don't have to guess. This is exactly what it is. This is exactly what it is. The final deal, I'm going to come back and tell you everything about it. And that's what the people of St. Lucia are requiring at this time. Transparency. transparency. And I know St. Lucians are going to say, well, we could have developed our own port. Vincentians, of course, Ralcon Sabs will say the same thing. We could have developed our own ports. I know for a fact for St. Lucia, they have it within them to be able to develop their port. I'm not saying Vincentians are not accustomed of doing big things, but St. Lucians are accustomed of moving earth. They're accustomed of bulldozing through tunnels. They're accustomed of backing up the waters and creating Pigeon Island and all these areas, Point Seraphim. They're accustomed of backing off the water in Castries to erect the car park and these major buildings over there. They're accustomed of moving earth, that's what I'm saying. So I can understand St. Lucians saying, well, don't you think we could have done this? Okay, well, as government, we think that this might be the best deal. It's okay to have conversations like that, but don't curse off the people and act like somebody's enemy of the state. Don't do that. Let's have a conversation. That's all we're saying. All right? So I'm going to go now. You guys need to have your rest. At least I give you guys a few hours tonight. And you have been in tune to another program here on Caribbean American News Media Platform. Go out there and be your best. All right, folks? No need for anger and all these nastiness that I'm seeing out there in the society. Live peaceable, if possible, with all men. Be kindly affectionate one to the other. Be kind to people. Wear a smile. It's not the end of the world, friends. The worst is yet to come. The world is going to go through a very bad state. So you hang in there. Don't give up, all right? Those of you who are sick or going through a hell of a time, just hold on to hope. Hold on to hope, all right? Just hold on to it, man. And be strong. You are strong. You are strong, my friends. You can make it, all right? Good. And be proud of where you're from, because both St. Vincent and St. Lucia, they're good countries. As a matter of fact, I'll be heading to maybe 3 of those countries next month. So I'll be in one of those. I'll be in each of those countries. Just watch the space, all right? And then I'll be meeting with the Right Honorable Dr. Friday over there in St. Vincent, and also the President of Guyana, Mr. Thing. All right? So just watch this space, friends. Blessings to all of you. Have a beautiful, beautiful night.
Welcome to Caribbean American News Media. Let's get to work.
I'm here to help.